Today we are venturing out into deep space, portraying as kitty cats. That's right, we are going to be catstronauts. I mean astronauts, jumping onto the rockets and landing on distant planets. This here is a push your luck kind of game, where we are trying to get to planets that are the highest and furthest away before the rocket explodes and has a catastrophic failure. This here is MLEM. In this video I'm going to show you how to play the base version of this game. I'm going to show you how to set it up and how to play it. And once you know how to play the base game, well, it's not that hard for you to add on the advanced modes. So let's take a look at this. We start by placing this beautiful neon mat in the center of the table for all players to easy reach. Then we place out the 4 gold tokens next to the play area. The point tokens are also put into different piles next to the play area. Then we need to place the cosmic failure token, meaning this little rocket token here, on the first space on the cosmic failure track. The player that most recently cleaned out a litter box becomes the first player and takes the rocket board, the small rocket token and the 6 die and put them in front of them. Each player then chooses a cat that they would like to portray as and take that board, but also the corresponding token of that same color. So that was the setup of the basic mode, because there is advanced mode as well, remember? But then you would of course add more tokens into the game. But this here is the basic mode and it takes no time to set up. Once we have set up the game and we know who is the first player, well then we are ready to start playing. And this game is played over 3 different phases. And the first phase is the takeoff phase. The starting player takes the little rocket ship token and places it on 0 out on the cosmic mat. Then they chooses one of their astronauts to send out into space. Now, each of these astronauts have different abilities, as you can see on the little symbols on these cats. What each of these astronauts does, well, you can read that in the rulebook, because I won't be going through that now. Once you have chosen one of your astronauts to send out into space, you simply take it. And then you put it on the topmost spot on the rocket. Then, in clockwise order, the other players get to put their astronaut on the next available space on the rocket. Once we have chosen which astronaut we would like to send out into deep space, it's time for the starting player to roll all of the available die. In the first round it will be all 6, but these will become fewer as the game goes on. The starting player simply takes the die and then rolls them to see which type of results we get. When we have rolled the die, it's time for us to sort them into groups. A single die can become a group because we sort them into according to their result, meaning that the number 1 here is one group and the flames here is another one. The second step is to see if you manage to roll any results that matches up the die out on the cosmic mat where the spaceship is. In this case here we have 1 flame, 1 pip and a die with 2 pips. And as you can see here, we actually managed to get that result. So in step number 2 of the traveling phase, it's now up to you to choose a die result that matches the results available out on the cosmic mat. Now, you can choose several of these results that matches the ones out on the mat. Or you can just choose one of the result that matches the result on the mat. Because these results will let you move on the cosmic mat. Because each of these results out on the cosmic mat is a step. Meaning that in this case here, if you have the flame result, you can move 1 step per flame result. So this here would be 2 steps, 1 plus 1. But if you also like to add the 1 result, you would get 1 more step in this case. 1 plus 1 plus 1 would give you a total of 3 steps. But you could also choose to add the 2 results as well, giving you 2 steps per result. Adding them all together and then you move your ship. But like I said, you don't need to choose all the results that you rolled matching the results on the cosmic mat. You could simply choose to just pick one of the results and moving that amount of steps. So once you have chosen which die result you would like to use, well then you move the spaceship out on the cosmic mat that amount of steps. And then that die result that you have used is now discarded and cannot be used anymore during your turn. To show that they are discarded, well, you put them out on the cosmic mat. A little note is that the ones with the fireball here, or meteor, or whatever it is, they are never discarded. So if you use this result, well then you simply put them back in front of you again. If you ever end your commander phase with 0 die in front of you, well then you need to take 1 die from the cosmic mat. If or when you roll the die and none of the results that you have rolled matches the die next to the rocket out on the cosmic mat, well then you have crashed the rocket. And now you need to move the cosmic failure token 1 step to the right. And now this expedition ends, meaning that the rocket and the cats on the spaceships goes back to the players. So if the spaceship crashes, well, the expedition is over, which just makes sense, right? Because you do not have a ship anymore. Any cats in the ship goes back to the board. And now whoever was the first player before needs to take the die and the rocket, but also the rocket token, and give it to the player on their left. Now they are the first player and a new round would start. But if we do not crash the ship, we manage to move out on the board, and then we would go into the landing phase. So if we did not crash our spaceship, we go into the landing phase. And this is where we get to choose if we want to land on the planet connected to the spaceship, or any moons, if we would have been connected to them. If we choose to step off this planet, well then we simply take our little astronaut and then we put it on that planet. If we do not choose to step off this planet, we would continuing journeying through the space and be a part of the next roll to see if we manage to move any further. If several players determines to disembark on this planet, we would put them from top to bottom in the order that they determined to jump off on. Meaning that if the yellow player determines to enter the planet first, they would go on top. And then followed by whoever determines to jump off after. If there would already be one of your astronauts on the planet you want to jump off on, well you simply place the new astronaut next to the one you have placed before. If the rocket is next to any of the moons, well the cats can also choose to jump off and stay on the moons instead. The first player determined to jump off gets to go to the moon furthest away from the rocket, giving them a higher score. If any other players also would like to jump off on the moons, well they will fill up the next moon available. When you put your astronauts on any of the moons, you immediately receive that amount of points. There can be any amount of astronauts on the planets, but there can only be 1 astronaut per moon. If the rocket ever reaches the last space out on the cosmic mat, well then we have reached a comet or a galaxy. And now all the astronauts needs to jump off. The first player gets to place their astronaut into the comet and immediately gets 7 points. The other players that chosen to follow this far gets to place their astronaut into the galaxy, and now they get 5 points each immediately. If the commander of the rocket ever disembarks before any of the other players in the ship, well, the commander role would go to the player next in line on the rocket. Meaning that in this case here, well, the pink one would become the commander, and now they would get to roll any remaining die in the future. The game can end in 2 ways. Either if we have reached the last spot on the cosmic failure, or when a player places out their last astronaut on a planet. The game would also end. So when the game is over, it's time for us to start to calculate scores. And we will do that starting out on the planets. So now we need to see how much points we have received for the astronauts that we have out on the planets. Because the points from the moons, we get them immediately when we disembark on the moons, remember? So we won't count them now. We need to look out here next to the planet. At the top, we can see a golden star with a number 3 in it. This means that whoever has the most amount of astronauts on this planet will get 3 points. The player who has the second most astronauts out on the planet would get 2 points. The last one means that any player that has at least 1 astronaut on the planet would get 1 point. Whenever there is a tie, whoever disembarked on the planet first would get the higher amount. And then the other player would get the second amount. Once we have calculated the scores, well then we have a winner. If there is a tie, well, we simply celebrate together by sharing victory. And that, my friend, is how you play the basic mode of MLEM. As I told you, there are advanced modes where you add on different things. We have UFOs, we have secret missions, and we also have explorations that you can add on to the basic mode. There you have it, my friend. That was MLEM, a space agency. This game is fun for the whole family. I mean, if you have kids to play with, just bring this game out and you can start playing pretty fast. But even for the more experienced players, this is quite fun. If you play with smaller children, you can just keep the basics of the game. You can remove whatever the astronaut does and simply just use the push of luck system to see how far up they can go before the spaceship explodes. This is a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed this game. I think Rebel Studios have made quite a little pearl here. If you want to know more about the game, well, check out the links down in the description. If you like this video, well, please follow me or just give it a thumbs up, throw in a comment, whatever you feel like. But most importantly, my friend, please do not forget to keep on spreading that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace out, my friend.